Well, my last nitpick, and this is a real nitpick, is like, what was with all the vomiting? I don't. I'm very sensitive to vomiting. I don't like it. There's a whole phobia word for it. I don't know what that word is, but I don't like vomiting. I don't like seeing it on the screen. If I know it's gonna happen, I turn my head. So I'm like, what is with all the vomiting in this book? Oh,
Because magic is being spelled and it's a lot on their body, and so their body's reaction is to like get it out. It's like a cleansing.
I guess.
Vomit like you're cleansing your gut, but it's gross. But
We don't need to.
there was an abnormal amount of vomiting.
It was a lot. It was a lot.
Welcome to the Novel Universe with your hostesses Ashley and Dawn. We rate and review the newest and most buzzworthy books. We are true book club girls who don't always agree, but do enjoy a good book discussion. I'm Ashley, the fantasy architect.
And I'm Dawn, the criticizer of books.
Grab your favorite beverage and come and enjoy our universe.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Novel Universe with your hosts Ashley and Dawn. And today we are going to be discussing Hellbent by Leigh Bardugo, the long-awaited Hellbent by Leigh Bardugo. If you are new here, welcome. What we do is we go over a quick overview. We give our rating. Ashley and I do not discuss the book before we get on here, so I have no idea what Ashley thought. We will give a spoiler-free review. Then we will go into a spoiler review. We will let you know when we get into spoilers. And just FYI, the beginning of this will have no spoilers for Hellbent, but there will be spoilers for Ninth House. So if you have not read Ninth House, I suggest you pop out and come back after you've read it, because we will be spoiling Ninth House. Sorry, but this is a book too. We can't help that.
Literally.
Yeah. If you do not stay with us all the way to the end, first of all, why not? But secondly, our next book will be Chain of Thorns. I almost said Thrones. Chain of Thrones.
That'd be good.
Chain of Thorns by Cassandra Clare, which is the third. Is it the final book in that series? Please say it is.
Oh,
Well,
I don't know with her. I feel like she's the threesome.
Okay. Well, it is hopefully
I
the
feel
third
like
and final book in that series. I don't know the name of that series, but you know what I'm talking about.
Glass Hours.
Glass Hours series. Yeah, so that will be our next book in February. But let's get started with Hellbent. Very quick overview. Like I said, I will be spoiling Ninth House, so pop out now. Come back later. Okay, bye. All right.
Don't say.
Hellbent picks up where Ninth House left off. I believe it's only a couple months later. Darlington has fallen into hell, and Alex and Dawes are banding together to try and get him back. And it is basically all about them getting Darlington out of the underworld. All right, Ashley, what did you rate Hellbent?
I gave this. I'm struggling between a 4.75 and a 5.
Oh, okay.
Just a little bit. Just a
Okay.
little bit. My first gut reaction was a 5, but then when I was like critically like putting like stuff together, I was like, is it quite? I think I can, because it's Bardugo. Like, but I also like, this book is so different than Ninth House. Like, it's written a little different too.
Okay.
Just with everything. So what did you rate it?
Well, I was waffling between a 4.25 and a 4.5, but I think I'm going to settle on a 4.5. I am that broad that compares books, unfortunately. I gave Ninth House 4.75. I did not like it better than Ninth House, so I cannot give it a 4.75. But I also compare it to comparable books, and so I think the latest book I've read is probably the Atlas 6, which is kind of comparable to this because it's dark academia in a sense. I kind of like them equal, so I think I'm gonna settle on 4.5. We'll see. After this, we'll see if after the discussion I missed some stuff, and we'll see.
Yeah. Well, so we were close. Then to each other's thoughts. Because I think Ninth House, I think I gave that a 5-star rating when I read it. For sure. So.
Well, did you have any dislikes?
I did. It's more like an irk. Like, it's more like, it might be, it's, they're not like major, like, make it or break it things that I didn't like about this book. Let me just preface that. Like, do you have like any that are like,
I just have
100% made or break?
No, I just have nitpicks. I don't have any dislikes.
Yeah. Okay, so we're along the same page here. Okay. They're more like, so it'll be nitpicking time, I feel like.
All right, well, it's I felt nitpicking like time.
It's nitpicking time. I felt like the big bad, villain it just hit better in the first book. It hit better than the second.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, I'm not going to. That was not in my nitpick, but I now that you mention it, that is a nitpick, and we will get into it in the spoiler edition.
Yes. So that was my first nitpick. What was your first nitpick?
My first one was I just had a hard time believing that some people, Alex, I can understand, Dawes, would risk their life and to go and stay in hell for Darlington. I'm like, yeah, he's a cool dude, but am I gonna go to hell for him? I don't know. Eternal damnation? I don't know. And some of the people that helped them, I'm just like, I don't know if I'm buying that. They gave their reasons, but I don't.
Yeah, I think I would agree with you. There was like two in particular where I was like,
yeah,
you ain't close. The other thing for me is that I felt like when there was a big, a big thing happened, right? Mm-hmm. A big thing happened. I felt like it was very underwhelmed. Like, it could have been a little bit better. Like, it's like, we'll talk about the spoiler part, but I really felt like there was missing, this grand gesture, if you will. And it just didn't happen. It was kind of muted.
Okay. Not sure what you're talking about, but we'll talk about it in the spoiler edition. Another nitpick of mine was at the end, there were a lot of dead bodies. They were just piling up. And they were just like, yeah, we'll do some spell to get rid of them. And I'm like, I don't know how I feel about that. It was just one after another. They just kept coming. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. 100%. And then the last thing for me is that, like, this was just a different telling of a story. Like, I felt like there was more of a slower burn pace in the first book, so like we're waiting for all of these things. There's just stuff just being dropped in our laps, right? And we're like, what the hell does that mean? Like, nobody's explained it. We're just gonna leave that there, a little token for you. And then this one was such like more linear paranormal, if you will. It was like, we have a heist and we're going off to go do that, and then we're gonna do this, and then we're gonna do it. So it's like way more action packed than the first book was. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I feel like that's where a lot of like the disconnect has been within like the reading world, because there are some people that are like, it's a totally different story, and I'm like, it's still the same story, it's just a different writing choice on how to tell the story, but it's still Bardugo.
Yeah, like
her tone is still the same throughout it. But it was one of those where I was like, wow, I haven't reached a point where I'm lost, if you will. I was more like waiting for the next like thing to come and happen. So it's not, it's definitely just a different tone. It's a different tone of telling.
Okay.
Style of telling. So.
Well, my last nitpick, and this is a real nitpick, is like, what was with all the vomiting? I'm very sensitive to vomiting. I don't like it. There's a whole phobia word for it. I don't know what that word is, but I don't like vomiting. I don't like seeing it on the screen. If I know it's going to happen, I turn my head. So I'm like, what is with all the vomiting in this book? Oh,
Because magic is being spelled and it's a lot on their body, and so their body's reaction is to like get it out. It's like a cleansing.
I guess.
Vomit like you're cleansing your gut, but it's gross. But
we don't need to.
there was an abnormal amount of vomiting.
It was a lot. It was a lot.
To her and to, you know, her writing style and her as an author, like I look forward to reading it because I know it's going to be filled with good stuff. That was like my number one thing where I was like, thank you for a great ride. I really appreciated it. I didn't like stand there and go, that was stupid. Like, who wrote that? You know?
Yeah.
Like that. So, and there were some funny moments. There were some funny, quippy, dry humor moments that I was like dying laughing. Dying laughing. And so much so like,
oh God, especially at the end with Trip.
Yeah. No, I got it written down.
I was like, okay, I've never laughed so hard in this book, and you do it in the last 10 pages. Oh my God, yeah. What you got?
Yeah, she writes. I'm gonna say it. Like she writes this one quote, and Turner goes, "He's a freaking loaded weapon," and I believe it's Alex. Saying this, where she replies, "He's barely a squirt gun," and I was like, yeah.
There was more stuff with Trip. We can't really say because it's a spoiler, but there is one line where the big baddie is like pissed at Alex, and he is like, "You whore," and she goes, "I've been called a whore and the line at Rite-Aid." Like, I was like, what?
Yes.
Oh, I had to write that down. I was like, that's a good one right there. Yeah.
There was another one too, which I'll save for the spoiler. I was just like, this little, like, he's very serious, but then for like those lines to be like put out, I'm like, but it's genius because it's not stupid comedy.
Yeah, true. It could have gone that way too, but it really wasn't. It was actually funny.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
What was one of your likes?
So, of course, Bardugo's, like you said, she's a really good writer, and she has a lot of things going on in this book. And if you're the type of reader that just reads and doesn't really take any notes, and you're reading just on the surface, you're going to get a lot out of it. But if you really dig deep into the stuff that she's saying, there's a lot of symbolism and metaphorical writing and a lot of themes here. And I think the bigger ones that I got out of it was just like going above and beyond for your friends and protecting them at all costs. Guilt, which we can go into in the spoiler edition. And then I think the big one was just fighting your demons, like literal demons and metaphorical demons, which I thought was fantastic. Like, as I feel like my life hasn't been too terrible where I have like demons eating at me to the point where I am just hopeless, and there are some people who they can't cope anymore. And sometimes when I read books like this, I feel like I can't relate, but when I read her book, for someone who doesn't have a lot of demons, I really got it. I was like, this is what hopelessness feels like. This is horrible.
Yeah.
And so for someone to make someone who's never had depression or anything like that actually understand what it feels like, I think that's really good writing.
Oh, yeah. Top notch. Again. And the themes in this book, like you said, again, just, we love a book with good themes. I actually really liked the fact that we got introduced to more like supernatural creatures.
Yeah.
And they're different.
Yeah.
They are different. Thank you. It's not the same thing. Like, this is an author that actually took some supernatural creatures and created them her own. Like, we'll talk about a spoiler, but I like applauded that so well because it shows like she's so good at telling stories. So you're like, oh, okay, we're gonna add that in, and then I was like, oh no, like this is like, DEFCON 5 style of a creature. Okay, like this is not your normal. So I really liked that because she's like expanding this magical world, you know?
Yeah. Along the same lines as that, she also kind of changed our view of magic because I think as people who read a lot of fantasy and a lot of magic, magic is always kind of seen as like a good thing. Even like Harry Potter, when he's like, I love magic. But Bardugo's take on magic is that it is soul sucking. It is bad. Magic is bad. And we are Mercy, and Mercy's like, wow, magic is so cool and this is great. I want to be involved. And then when she really gets into the thick of it, she's like, ooh, no, it's not. And so I like, once again, like you said, how she changed magical creatures. She kind of changed magic so that we're not like, ooh, envious of it. We're just like, no, thank you. I don't want anything to do with that.
Like, hard pass. I don't want to be a part of that. Like, I love that Dawes got a lot of page time. Good old Pammy. I'm so glad. I'm so glad. And there's also something that I can dive to like talk to you about because there was a big bomb dropped about her.
There was.
So
I missed it.
About her being a potential something.
Oh, okay. I missed that. Cool.
Oh, page 320. Page 320. Just saying. So yeah, I'm glad that she got a lot of page time.
Okay.
I felt really know more about her character.
Yeah, she did get a lot of page time, but I still don't think we got too much of her background. Like, we got a lot of Turner, and well, that's really it. But
well, more of Trip. We got some of Trip too.
Yeah, but
you know, but not as not as in depth as like Darlington, Turner, and Alex. Like, we got way more out of them.
Oh, I don't. Okay, we'll talk about it. I know what you're talking about. We're talking about it. Okay, I looked at my book. All right. Another thing that I liked was the Bible references. I'm not a big religious person, but I grew up as a religious person. And so I always appreciate Bible references because I like looking it up and trying to figure out how it's connecting, because Bardugo doesn't write on the nose. So she's not like, the tree of knowledge is from Genesis and Adam and Eve. No. You gotta figure it out. Even though I know the tree of knowledge or the tree of good and evil or whatever you want to call it, I still had to look it up to kind of refresh my memory and how it kind of connects to this book. But she had the destruction of Moab and Daniel in the lion's den, and the end of days is what Darlington kept saying. I will love you to, or I will follow you to the end of days. He kept saying, and he said it in Ninth House too. He doesn't say to the end of my days. He says to the end of days, which is, I believe, a Bible reference. So I did appreciate the biblical references in the book, even if they weren't like totally important. It's just, I don't know. It's not like totally important to the plot, but it is just something extra.
I agree, because it just shows that like there's a thought and there's a purpose to every word going on the page. It's not just like I'm just gonna throw it in there just as a touch point, which those are Ashley's worst books to talk about. Touch point books.
Yeah.
I love the fact that, like, you know, Elba Stone, like, I love a good house. I love a good house that just takes care of everybody, you know? Like, it's just, like, that to me was just something that I was like, oh, I love that, you know? Because everything, like we said before, everything has a purpose. And I really love the fact that, like, Alex has, like, grown into this really in-depth character. Like, we've got a lot from her. There's still, like, a missing question.
Yeah.
You know, but it's, like, we've got so much on her, and I feel like she's grown too, because it's like I saw her as like very like, okay, I'm just gonna go and find Darlington, and okay, Dawes, like I guess we're just gonna go and do it, you know. But she like steps into this role of, you know, like just taking care of the people around her because she was unable to take care of Helly, you know,
Yeah.
and to save her. And so it's like that's her guilt, that's her shame that she carries, and she constantly thinks about, well, if I wasn't so selfish, I wasn't so, you know, OD'd or whatever, and if I was there, like it all just plays into who she is in this book, and I think that that's just done really, really well.
Yeah, agreed. Definitely agree. I like it that Bardugo uses Yale, and she uses like the actual buildings and the secret societies. Of course, she has, you know, added her own fake twist to it, but I like that she does use actual Yale, the Yale alma mater, and New Haven surroundings, the surrounding city, to build her world. I went to Illinois State University, and on the quad there's a structure on the quad, and if you go to, I can't remember the name of the college, but it's, if you go stand, it's if for those of you who went to Illinois State University, there's a lot of people who actually did. There's the castle building on the quad, and there's a statue in front of the quad, and if you go to the top of that building and you look down on the structure, it looks like it's sitting on a swastika. And so, like, this is just an example of how, if I were to be a writer like this, I could start with that swastika, and or quote unquote swastika, we don't know if it really is, but that was kind of always the legend on campus. I could start a story with that building and that structure, and that's kind of what she did. She's like, I'm gonna take the Sheridan building, what was it, not, was it the Sheridan, that building, the library, which she says the library is the portal to hell, which I thought was also hilarious. And I'm going to center my book around the library. And I think the paintings that she mentions and the courtyard, like all of this is real. You can go to Yale and look at all of that, and all of that is really on campus.
Yeah, I love that, because it all just like, it just tied in together and everything. And I felt like you could see it too, when they're like walking through, you know, hell, basically, like they have to like go through and they do this whole puzzle essentially to like get to where they need to go. And you could just envision what it looks like, you know, and having that metronome like ticking and keeping time to the spell and like all this stuff. And I was like, oh, it's so good. So good. I love the fact that there were just that she kept talking about how using magic for financial gain, and how like it, like everything has just been a giant cover up from one thing to the other. And it's like, is anything from that university built on truth in any capacity? Like Lethe's supposed to be like the one that keeps all these houses like in check and whatever, and it's like, but actually everyone's in on it. Everyone knows. Everyone has sacrificed their lives and their money to protect the magic system.
Yeah, and it's all greed.
Ugh.
It's all greed.
Yeah,
that's what it comes down to.
Literally. All great. But I love that though, because that was like another theme of the
Yeah. And speaking of greed, so like in Bardugo's world, the underworld, like, so when you go to hell, you are basically going to a sector of hell where what is connected to your vice. So all the people who have committed like murder are gonna go to this hell, and this is your demon that lords over you. And Darlington is in hell with Sandow, because they both are guilty of greed. Sandow has like monetary greed, but I think Darlington's greed is more of he like knowledge, and he wants power, and he wants magic, and so he's that kind of greedy. But he is in hell with the person who killed him. And then
Terrible.
like their demon lord is like Mammoth. She said Mammoth or Plutus or Gulvig, which is like some other like Norse gods and stuff like that. So I thought that was really interesting how she did that.
Yeah. And I love that we kept getting like glimpses as to like what hell was actually like, for sure.
Yeah.
Because it's not really like, you know, they don't hang out in there. It's not,
Yeah.
it's not like they're having a tea party.
I think as a kid, when you hear like you're going to hell, you just picture like fiery pits. It's just hot and it's fire and it's just miserable. But that's not what her hell looks like, and we're not going to say because that's a spoiler. But yeah.
Yeah. Did you have any other likes?
I'm not gonna really go into it. We'll go into it in the spoiler edition, but the rabbit on the cover plays a huge role in the story. Because I was like, what is this rabbit? I do not recall a rabbit in Ninth House. I don't understand. Well, now I do. And it plays a huge role in the story. Once again,
Everything
not gonna say.
has a purpose, literally. Because I also was like, what the heck is this dead furball doing on the cover? Yeah. Like, I'm not going to go in a bookstore and go, ooh, that looks enticing. Like,
that's creepy. It was creepy. Yeah.
Like, oh, like a dead talisman, you know? Like, a little, like, bunny foot, you know what I'm talking about?
God, it's gross. And the last thing I liked about it is she introduces some new magic. Like, so we all know that, like, salt is, like, used to repel demons and ghosts and everything, but she does something different with salt, which I thought was really cool, very visual. I was able to visualize everything, just very cool, just very creative, and that's what I appreciate. You know, we, both Ashley and I, read a lot of fantasy, and it takes a lot for us to read something different. And this is different. I have never read anything like this before. Now, I don't read a lot of dark academia, but I read enough fantasy to know that I have never read anything like this before, and that is why I like it so much. Well, not the whole reason, but her writing has a lot to do with it. But just like her imagination with this world was just fantastic.
Yeah, I agree. It's literally like, I'm like, oh, who would have thought of that? Like, I'm here for it. Like, I couldn't have thought of that, you know? And she just continues, like, just like press the boundary line of like where your imagination has gone with things. And I think that's what's most exciting about reading this series, is because you just don't know what she's going to throw at you. You just don't. You don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I had a few other things, but they're kind of spoilery. So I'm gonna save them for next
That's
time.
all I have.
Same. Well, if you want to hear us talk about spoiling, we're going to do that. If you don't want to, and you kind of were just like, is this the book that I should read? Yes, you 100% should read this. And our next book, again, is going to be Chain of Thorns by Cassandra Clare, which is the third book in the Last Hour series.
All right. Well, we will start the spoiler edition in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Hey, I'm Amanda.
And I'm Claire. We're the hosts of Fictional Hangover Podcast.
Fictional Hangover is a podcast about young adult and new adult books, series, authors.
All right, thank you for joining us for the spoiler edition. And so let's just get right into Darlington.
You want to talk about the golden erect dick, shall we?
I'm not sure why we needed that. I don't know the significance of that. I don't know if it's because in Ninth House, I just remember him like being in control. He didn't like being out of control, and I felt like this was his personal hell of being naked in front of this woman and losing control. And I guess an erect penis is, you can't control that. And so I think that's why. I mean, he was in hell, basically. And like you said, everybody's hell looks a little different. His was constantly trying to rebuild Black Elm. And this was also part of his personal hell, not being in control of his clothes.
Just killed me. I'm like, oh my gosh, he's got horns, he's glowing, and he's got things on his wrist, and he's naked, and then it's like, and then he's got his glowing penis. It's like, what? Why? What is this?
I think that's what it is. He just didn't have control. Because the first thing he did when he was rescued was put pants on. He was like, I'm gonna put on some pants.
He's trying to calm himself down. Like he still had no control over his body. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I find it interesting that he was still able to connect with Alex even within his demon form, if you will.
Yeah.
I
apologize for any background noise there. We're not a professional production here, so sorry. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
You hear something? Is it me?
No, I think it's my computer, like, doing whatever it does. You know.
Sorry, we're a little squeaky today. But yeah, I found it interesting that he was still able to talk to her, and I think it made more sense when we like learn more about her being the wheel walker and like her holding the door open for demons. So it's like she's able to communicate with spirits, you know, ghosts essentially, and it's like, why would she not be able to communicate to demons as well?
Mm-hmm.
It's just a thought, you know. But yeah, their reunion, on getting him out, I was like, oh, he just came out and we're gonna eat a big brunch and we're just gonna act like nothing happened. Because, oh, by the way, a door wasn't closed.
Yeah, their reunion was weird, and then when they got to Ilbestone? I don't know how to say it. I'm like, is somebody gonna hug? Is somebody gonna hug?
I know.
And then yeah, Pammy hugged him, but I was shocked when he wasn't totally human. Like those demons attacked her, and he just like went feral, and I was like, what the hell is this?
I know. I was like, are you like, is this like a mated thing? Is this what, like, where we're going with this? Like, the whole feral, like, growling and all of that. I'm like, somebody's been reading about Faye. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, you know, when he said, I can't remember the exact line he says to her, but it did make me think of Feyre and Rowan in book 3 in Air of Fire, when he was, like, no longer, like, connected to, what was her name? Maeve. And he just like bowed to, not Feyre, wrong book, I'm sorry, Selena. He like bowed to her feet and was just like, well, I'm yours now. I was like, okay. I immediately thought of Throne of Glass. I can't remember the line that he says to her.
The one where he says that he'll serve you to the end of days. Is that the one?
But there's more to it. But yeah, that was a shocker. And I think they were, because I guess you could say fate is another theme here, because she is a wheel walker, and she basically was going to end up there regardless, because she's a wheel walker, and that place attracted, I guess, the tower or something attracted wheel walkers. And then in Ninth House they went to that party at Manuscript, and he saw that vision of himself in the future with a crown on his head, and she was like a queen, and lo and behold, like, that came true. So
yeah, which is crazy. Absolutely crazy. Yeah, I'm like, they're slow burn just between the two of them. I'm like, do we have a thing here? Is this a thing?
What is that line? Why didn't I write this down? Did I put it in my Kindle? When he says to her, he gets kind of perturbed at her, and he's just like, oh God, you mean I'll find it.
Yeah.
But
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And you're like,
I was like, oh, what's this?
I'm like, are y'all gonna do it? But you know, and she's still in conflict, because she's like, well, he's like his like mentor and like, you know.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, he's her
but now she's like the head because he was gone. So it's like, well, I think she's at a conflict with herself with it.
She totally is.
And he is as well.
Like, yeah, he is still her Virgil or whatever. However, technically, he's a knight and she is the queen and he has to do her bidding. So as much as he was jealous of her in the first book because she had magic and he didn't, and how dare this poor, literal poor person who should not be at Yale, who doesn't belong here, has more magic than me, how dare she? And now he literally is her servant.
Well, even when you talk about the fact where like the 4 like murderers had to go into hell, like the second time around where they go, even Darlington is then the prince. He's, he takes Tripp's place, and it's like, even then again, we're still seeing like he is lesser than she is, like in his place, because the soldier, which is what she was the one that had to close the door in finality. Like she,
Yeah.
So I think it comes full circle. But I'm like waiting. I'm like, could you just something, just a little bit? Because it's like there's tension, and he talks about like his animalistic side, the demon side of him, where he's like, he just wants to devour her.
Yeah.
And it is a sexual reference.
And he does not say devour. He says the F word. And I was like, oh.
Yeah.
But Bardugo is really good at these damn slow burns, because even Kaz and Inej, it was just like, really? This is the best thing I've ever seen in my life, but I need something to happen now. She is the queen of slow burn.
It kills me. Kills me. I'm like, okay, it's gonna happen like the last 100 pages of the last book. You just watch. That's what's gonna happen. And we're all gonna be like, finally.
I want to say something. We'll talk about it, but I feel like I did not get my payoff at the end of Crooked Kingdom. But anyway, that's a different book. I cannot find the quotes, but I can't find it. But it was a good line. It's true Bardugo fashion. I don't even know what chapter it's in. I didn't mark it like an idiot, but dang it.
I feel like it's in the middle of the book, but it's be like a
towards the end. It's before they go back to the gauntlet, and it's towards the end, and he basically professes his love to her, and she just kind of like ignores it and was just like, "Ooh, get that out of here." But I think it's more of a and I felt like this was another theme in the book that we didn't talk about. It was every time she has this immense guilt, like you were saying, and that everyone who enters her orbit, bad things happen to them. So she feels really guilty of Helly just being around her in that environment, because Helly came from a good home and, baseball and barbecues, and then she died and she felt really guilty, and she felt like it should have been her and not Helly. And here comes Mercy, and all this bad stuff happens to Mercy, and she doesn't want to put her in this position. And all these people are just like dying around her, and Darlington goes to hell. It's like she has this immense guilt of people being around her, and bad things happen to them. So I don't think she wants to love him, because then he's in her orbit. Bad things are going to happen, even though I feel like going to hell is probably the worst thing that could happen to you. But
when he's still in her orbit, he's been in her orbit, But yeah, I did like the fact that Alex was honest with Mercy. If we're going down the line of people, I felt like that showed such growth for Alex, because she let Mercy into that side of her and was like, I need to let her in. There's no more getting around it. This is way bigger than me, and she needs to have the choice to say yes or to say no, and I applaud Mercy too, because she did a good job of yeah, I'm really excited, and Alex was like hold your panties, girl, you're a little bit high strung, we need to back it up, and then once things really started happening with them going to hell the first time, and then even the things happening with Anselm or whatever however you say his name, you know, she was getting more like, I don't really like what's happening. I think I need to go home. I think I need to take a time out.
Yeah.
You know, but it was like, I just felt like for the first time since, you know, Alex arriving at Yale, at least, like, she has a friend, like an actual friend who knows her dirty secrets, because, like, you know, nobody has for a really long time. And then going through hell and literally seeing all 4 murderers' murder stories and what happened, that was tragic. Like, I was like, are you kidding me right now? You know? Because then we go into well, I guess we could just go down line. Do you want to talk about Turner, Dawes, Trip?
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, we don't have to talk about it. They read it, they probably know what happened. I think Turner's was probably the worst one. Like,
yeah,
he just killed a bad cop. Just like, I did not see that coming. I was like, what did he do? He's so, you know, just this good guy. But
well, and it's interesting because, like, Bardugo gives him, like, a power, essentially. Like, he has this, you know, intuition where he knows that people are lying.
Yeah.
And Turner has no idea that that's, like, what's going on, but he's never wrong. He's always true. There's always this prickling feeling when he's surrounded by, you know, just bad happening. If something's not right, something, you know, is, you know, there's murder happening, whatever, he can tell. And, like, I found it interesting even when she was talking about the death of Carmichael, the other cop, how, like, even at the end, he had silence and no prickling near him for once, like, on the job. And I was like, interesting, you know? Yeah. So I liked that. I liked that he had a little, like, a little power there, a little intuition, if you will.
But, okay, so in Spoiler Free, you were saying the thing about Dawes. And now, because I was like, I think she was just speculating. But what if she's not? And what if Turner does not just have what if he does actually have a power?
Mm-hmm.
And Dawes has a power.
Yeah, and there is a reference, it's on page 320 for all of you who are here hanging out for spoilers, where it talks about how Alex talks like maybe Dawes is a witch, because Dawes is continuously brewing herbs. She's always talking about, like, you have to have all of these big events and new moons, big cycles, like, whatever. Like, she is in tune with all of the magicalness of being a witch and, like, what you do there. And she's always got something that's going to help take care of you, or, you know, help you heal faster, and, like, all of this. And even Darlington mentions about how Alex goes in for, like, a goat milk bath or whatever it is. And he's like, maybe I need to start learning Dawes's ways for healing, or whatever. Like, he makes like a comment about that, and then it's referenced again, and I'm like, Homegirl's a witch. She's not just Oculus, man. She's a witch.
I just kind of chalked it up to the kind of like the Hermione thing, where she's just very well read. But I don't know. Maybe she is a witch, because, it would make sense for future books to give the whole crew powers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, she's definitely a potential witch. 100%. I see it. I'm here for it.
Do you want to talk about the rabbit on the cover and the significance of it? I mean, there's not really much to spoil. It's just...
Yeah, I thought that... first of all, this rabbit, how did I miss this in the first book?
It wasn't...
Was the rabbit?
No. Because I went back, because I have Ninth House on my Kindle, and I can search words. And I searched Babbitt Rabbit. I searched rabbit. There was no mention of a rabbit in the first book. So this is something that she concocted for this book.
Okay. Yeah, because like the rabbit is a part of Alex's story.
Yeah.
You know. And then Anselm also has a rabbit, right?
Well,
He is a rabbit.
I think the rabbit has a lot of symbols, and I think one of them is because the whole story of how their dog at Ground Zero killed that rabbit, and you know rabbits are innocent, they're easy prey. So Helly's very innocent, very easy prey, and I think that he just appeared to her as a rabbit, as a demon. You know how your demons eat at you. It was her guilt. She felt guilty about this rabbit because the rabbit symbolized Helly, and that's how he appeared to her. Because appearing to her as Helly wasn't working, so he needed something else, and I think the rabbit was the next best thing.
Yeah, no, I think I agree with you, because it is like, you know, rabbits are usually like good luck, and you know, they can symbolize compassion and like stuff like that. And it's like if these demons are feeding off of their lack of, right, like they're just filling up on these things, which that was just, you know, the rabbit just kept coming back in multiple situations, and I was like, oh, like it's more than just like there's a white rabbit. It's the symbol of all of that.
Rabbit symbolize. I wrote it down. Why do I not have my notes in order? Oh, rabbit symbolize to think things through before you act. Look within yourself to recognize gifts to give you strength. I mean, rabbits symbolize a lot of things, but I think that might be what you were saying in like how she's using the rabbit to fit in her story.
Yeah. I don't know. It was just done super, super well with that. And even like when we learn about Anselm, right? You know, he's the vamp. He's the vamp that has been sucking souls out of people, and like that's how he's able to walk with people. I just found it interesting. First of all, not only because like vampires are known as these just like blood-sucking demons or whatever, like, you know, they just feed off of people and then those people die. Well, no, they're actually demons who take on a host's body, you know, and I love that because they like take on that person's like emotions, like they feed off of their emotions and then they become this person. Like that's how it's like almost like a doppelganger, if you will.
Yeah.
And it happens multiple times where they're like, is this the real person? No, like that, there's something wrong. But it's like they've internalized their souls essentially and their feelings and like their memories, and it's like that's creepy that they can do that. And just the fact that like Alex has a moment when she's facing him the first time where she's like so scared out of her bones because she's like, I don't know how to battle this, like this is a new thing, you know. I love that she calls Turner and she's like, I'm scared, I don't know what to do, I need you to come and get me. I've only made it so far, you know. And I love the fact that like, you know, there's so many times that we like see like a main character and they somehow know all the answers and they're always able to get out of a pinch and they just automatically know, and it's like that does not happen here. Like she literally gets to a point where she's like, I don't think I got out by the skin of my teeth and I don't think I can do it again. You know, and I'm like, that's nice to see. That's nice to not, you know, have them have all the answers. Because that makes it real life, you know? It makes it feel like a real situation.
Yes.
And I love that.
Yes. Agreed. Sure. Yeah, I think we do think of Alex as having all the answers at the very end. You know, she concocted a plan unbeknownst to the reader, which I'm always okay with. But then there are moments like the vampire where she was scared, and Turner even said, wow, I've never seen her this scared before. and the fact that she could call him up and have, for help, which, that's more growth on Alex's part, because she's always been kind of a group of one, especially in book one. She didn't really like Turner in the beginning, and but now she trusts him with her life, which I think is great.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think it's awesome, for sure. I love the fact too that like they were facing their own like literal demons.
Yeah.
I know we talked about it in the spoiler-free edition, but like the fact that they had to like relive their deepest, darkest grief and shame over and over and over again. And it's like the demons feed off of them. They feed off of their joy. They also feed off of their sadness. Like they're just constantly consuming like off of them. And I thought that was just such a twist, because like even you see like Anselm like holding all four of their demons at bay. And it's like you're looking at them and they're not healthy looking. They're completely ragged and just how would you say, like just like almost animalistic in a way. Rabid, I don't whatever.
Yeah.
And I thought that was so good. It was so creepy. It was so creepy at the same time.
What I think Bardugo does really well is that is a literal metaphor for our own demons and how we beat ourselves up. Our demons is ourself and how we talk to ourselves. You are a piece of crap. You are not worthy of this. You are this. You are ugly. You are stupid. And so in this book she uses literal demons, but realistically, Alex does have these demons where it is her guilt of Helly and Darlington, and it is literally eating away at her. It is making her feel hopeless, and you keep telling yourself these horrible negative things. It does eat away at you until some people unalive themselves. They can't take it. And so I like how she uses literal demons to I'm trying to say, use
to
it,
showcase.
yeah, to showcase like demons and how we treat ourselves. And I think that Bardugo has been through a lot in her life. I know she was in an abusive relationship, and I think a lot of this story, I think she's Alex in a lot of ways. She's also from Los Angeles. She did go to Yale University. Like I said, she was in an abusive relationship. She would even said like the Darkling kind of personified her grief and her trauma. So I think she is Alex in a way. And she probably had demons eating at her, and this is how she tells her story.
Right.
That's why it's so good, is because it's kind of her own personal hell that she was dealing with.
Yeah. And I love the fact that like each of them had like their own like salt talisman, that was like basically gifted to them. And when you look through like what each person received, I was like, but it's perfect to that person. Darlington had Cosmo, which I thought was genius. Genius. Alex had a snake, and I'm like, well, she literally has tattoos of snakes and peonies like going up her arm. And then Turner has a mighty oak tree. And I thought it was so funny, because there's one line where it's Trip saying like, oh, an oak is alive and you can acorn your enemies into submission. And I was just dying. And Trip had the albatross, which at the end of it, like that saved him, that saved him from what happened to him. Which we can talk about in just a second, but I just feel like, each of the talismans, like they each meant something, and it was just another little like.
Yeah, and that's what I was talking about with magic I've never seen before. Like I was saying, the salt, we know that salt can ward off a lot of bad, evil things, but I've never seen it done that way before. That was something new that I've never seen, and it could be in other books, and maybe I just don't read a lot of dark stuff like this. But I've never seen it before. Yeah.
Never seen it before.
let's talk
Do we
about
want to talk? Oh, no, go ahead.
because I was kind of confused about the whole wheel walker thing, and I really want to make sure that I understand her whole power. So I'm assuming that Bellbaum in the first book was like the almighty wheel walker, and now that Alex killed her, now Alex, or was Alex always, well, I knew that Alex was always a wheel walker because Bellbaum told her she was. And her ultimate power is that she can keep the portal to hell open? Like, what is her ultimate power as a wheel walker? I'm not quite sure.
So, yeah, so like Daisy Willock was like the first like wheel walker, and so what happened was then she was eaten by Bellbaum. Like another well walker came, and Bellbaum became like most of the demons, where they're able to like suck the power into them, like, so how Alex can suck the Greys into her, and like she then takes like their charge and their energy, and it's like her life force essentially. That like goes in there. And so the fact that we see Alex defeat Bellbaum, I think just answers the question that yes, she is more powerful, but it also makes me question, like, but who's Alex's father? Like, we know nothing about her parentage. We know nothing, like, other than her mom needs money. She was a dollar store fortune teller type of girl, whatever. So Alex's gift that we've been told is that she not only possesses the gift as the hellfire, okay, that's a whole other thing, but her she is the gauntlet was an offering, correct? Like the gauntlet was an offering, like into hell. Like it was supposed to be this experiment or whatever, but it turned into being an offering because everyone who stepped inside, someone was taken. There was a price to pay to have the door open, to have hell open. And so their way of re-entering that and revisiting hell was the beacon, which is the wheel walkers, who are basically lighting the way to the doors of hell. That is how I saw it.
Okay.
And because she was deemed thief numerous times, like as she's entered hell, like something has been stolen from hell that she has. We still don't know what that is. I don't think her stealing Darlington was the ultimate reason why they called her a thief. I think that the power that she has within her, she's not supposed to be able to open that door.
Okay. Yeah, somebody called her a thief before Anselm did. I can't remember who it was, but they were like, somebody else called me a thief. Who?
As in Sandow?
I don't know. Why do I not take better notes? Somebody else called her a thief. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't, because I just thought it was Darlington. But if someone called her a thief before she took Darlington, then it's not Darlington. Interesting. Okay.
That's my thought. That's my take on it. I could be totally wrong, but that I did note. That I did write down. And that her presence in hell is like the way for them to keep the door open for all demons and dark magic to basically freely flow in and out, because then when we reach the end of the book, there's new creatures that are coming out of the works, if you will, that were not supposed to be here before, or they were here before but they were sealed.
Yeah. And she doesn't have to walk the gauntlet to get into hell too, right? Didn't she just like jump the fire and got Darlington out?
Yeah, homegirl can just boop right in. She doesn't even need to do it. Which I want to know, how did Darlington know that she didn't need to do the puzzle, the walk?
I don't know.
That was a question that I had. I want to know who her father was. I want to know how Darlington knew, Was it just like, was that a gift of knowledge from hell? Like, because he was there, he was able to see, like, why she could?
I don't know.
But I'm not sure.
It was Anselm who called her a thief first. When he was, I don't know. When he looked like the rabbit, he called her a thief. So she had taken Darlington already.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That was one thing that I didn't understand, was the whole Will Walker. And I read it over again and I was like, I don't understand.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if we're supposed to understand like all the way just quite yet. I think it's more of like a speculation. Like as she comes into her knowledge of what a Will Walker is, because it was just a speculation the first book, right? That she was. And this one we're like, oh, she got powers.
Yeah, I went back and read Ninth House, the end of it, and when Bellbomb was about to kill her, she was a Ring of Fire too.
Mm-hmm.
So Bellbomb was the ultimate Will Walker or something. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's all I had, to be honest.
Yeah. Oh, wait. So, Trip. Who turned Trip?
His demon, Spencer did. Right?
I don't know.
He was...
a vampire had to have turned him, right? Because he's not a vampire.
Yes.
And it wasn't Reitner, because they're going after Reitner, and he still should look like Reitner. So who killed Trip? If you know, listening, let us know, because I don't know.
I'm over here like, oh my gosh. Yeah, so the fact that his salt thing worked on him was awesome, because the whole last 100 pages, I was like, are they really not going to go and find him? Like, what we just dropped Trip like he was nothing, you know? And in reality, they were, but they had other things to worry about. I don't know if I'm even eating.
Was it even said who turned Trip? Did they even ask?
He just said that thing sucked Trip dry.
Are there a bunch of vampires roaming around and we just don't know? They're
Trip or the demon backed away bearing its fangs. I couldn't help it. You're a killer, Turner said. We're all killers. And then they said, we're not arguing semantics with a vampire. You know what we have to do. That was Darlington. But there's no...
Yeah, she says, is it Reitner, Doss Raspout? I don't think so. He can't shake his human form. What else could it be? A demon, a monster in command? Oh no, they're talking about that thing that was in the sky. Never mind. So yeah, so that's how it ends. There's a new monster that they gotta battle. Some winged monster in the sky.
Yeah. And it said that she'd seen Linus Rider, the vampire, in the sky. No, she said that she saw a thing that moved as quickly as him. I don't know, man. I do love this line though that Turner gives Alex, which is he talks about you can't walk through hell unchanged, and he says it changed you too, sir, and you may not care about good and evil. That doesn't mean they don't exist. You stole a man out of hell, you beat a demon at his own game, and you better think about what that means. And she says, what's that? And he says, the devil knows your name now, Galaxy Stern.
Yeah.
Which that to me was our last, there's a cliffhanger there, and there's a cliffhanger about, well, who killed Trip?
Yeah,
because now he's a husk.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought it was his demon, Spencer.
No, Spencer's dead. I don't think that was.
I know, but he could like suck.
No, you have to be a vampire. I don't think Spencer was a vampire.
Very true. This is very true. Never mind. You're right. Way off kilter here, but so far, best book I've read so far.
Well, how many books have you read? It's only January 24th.
5.
Oh, look at you go.
I know. Well, wait, no, I might be 4. I think it's 5. Yeah. I think, I don't know. Yeah. Best book I've read so far.
Not me. I actually finished The Secret Lives of Church Ladies, and I gave it a 5. Like, I haven't given a 5 in a long time. And I really like that book. So I like it better. That's better than The Hellbent. It's a totally different story. It's a totally different genre. But yeah, I gave it a 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that ends our podcast, guys. This is our longest podcast we've done in a very long time.
Mm-hmm. There was a lot to talk about.
We hope that it summed it up for you guys. If you guys have any other things that you're wanting to chat about with us regarding Hellbent or any of the other books that we've read, we would love to do that because Dawn and I love a good book discussion. And yeah, if you haven't read it yet, you need to read it. And I'm sure if you're listening to this, you are probably already read it. So again, our next book is Chain of Thorns by the Cassandra Clare. So we will see what happens in that one.
And we'll catch you in the next podcast.
Bye.